Hello and welcome to the next tutorial in this series, and today we're going to look at the EBE system. EBE stands for Easy Building Editor. It's a little bit of a mouthful to say, but there you go. One thing I'd like to mention is that it's more versatile than the name implies because you can make a lot more than buildings with it, and we'll go into that shortly. Now, to start with an EBE, you need to go to your Builders tab on your left hand side and then add new site. All the other icons here are what you use to actually construct on the EBE site. You must always construct on a site. Left click and you'll get this sparky ball and then your cursor. Then left click anywhere in your game world and your scene. It will generate a template for you, like so. Now the template itself is a 10 by 10 grid, thusly, and each grid is 20 by 20 smaller blocks. Now with this level of precision you can create quite detailed structures, and we shall start with the floor and go from there. Now over on your right hand side you'll be able to see a texture plate, very similar to the texture plate in your Paint Terrain tool, but this one has different textures you can use in your building site. For example, this one is cobblestones, as you might see in a courtyard. We have a rock type texture or shale. We have mud or rust. Another different gradient of cobblestone, what looks like a wall or wooden wall, more plain wood, like a wallpaper with a wooden lintel, nice bricks, this is a metal bulkhead with fan, grid metal. Ooh, nice corrugated rusty metal. More indented metal. Some sort of metal wall, and a concrete or metal. Now, these textures can be changed, but we won't be doing that today. That's more of an advanced feature, and there's plenty here to be going on with. Now, I don't want all that stuff here, so I will press E to come out of that. I'll left click and delete, because I'm going to place a new site down and I'm going to build a small house. So now see what textures we have. I'm going to make a small metal house, so like a little outpost or a bunker. Now in looking at all those textures, I quite like this for a floor, so I'm going to make that shape house, a bunker, sorry, not a house. I don't know anyone who lives in a metal house. And for a wall we're going to have this texture. Now currently I have floor selected, but you just pick wall and all of a sudden your cursor becomes a wall. You can rotate this by pressing the R key, just like you can in the regular editor, and very quickly, very simply, you just paint your walls around your floor, like so. Now don't worry about doors just yet, we're just going to map out a basic structure. Now I'd like this to be a bit taller, maybe multi-storied, so if I take this wall, I want to go up a level. Now how do I do that? Well, if you look down here, you can see that to go up a level you need to hit the page up key. So I do this and I've gone up one. Excuse me. You'll see that the grid has moved up one in-game unit. So now when you paint, you're painting on this level, not the level below it. So I'll just paint in these walls again. And if you make a mistake, like oops, I've done too much wall, you can quite simply hold down the hold down the shift key and then click the left mouse button to delete. Important thing to note, you can only delete using the same texture you currently have selected. If I selected this stone texture, I couldn't then go ahead and delete these walls, because these walls are this texture, like that. That is to stop you accidentally deleting things you do not want to delete. For example, if I want to delete all my walls, I want to leave my floor where it is, and so because it's a different texture, it wouldn't be affected. Now, I've put my walls on, and I would like to put a roof on. Now, I quite like this for a roof. My roof is going to be a floor, but one step up. So I can just paint on a roof right here, and I have a small building. Now, I don't like this difference of textures on the outside because I want that just to be on the inside. So on the outside, I'm going to pick, let's say, this texture as a wall. I'll come down to the bottom layer again, and this time I will draw on the other side of the wall. Now what I mean by that is, whereas this wall was painted at this orientation, if I rotate 180 degrees and paint on this tile, I'm outside the wall. So if I take the other texture and paint like that, I can create, oh, that's a flaw, haha. I can create a sort of wall whilst retaining a nice inside texture. And that's what I'm going to do here. So I just paint. I think I've just painted a wall inside. Yes, I have. And very easily, hold down Shift and left click to delete it. So I will carry on painting my outside wall. Like this. And I'll come up one and I'll paint the second story with the same texture, because from the outside I want this to be a sort of squat little bunker, but on the inside it's like a technological marvel. Now you'll notice that because I'm painting in a grid, there is a gouge in the side of the building, and while that doesn't look too bad, I don't actually want it. I want a squared building. So we have here something called column. A column is a single square but 1 unit tall. Using the same texture, I can just plant it in the corner and it fills in that hole. I can of course do the same on the bottom level. Thusly. So just go along and colour in your edges like that. I will delete that wall in a moment. I've not forgotten it. There we go. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Right. So I'll delete that wall now because I'm going to forget what texture I've used. So I come back to its level. Oops. Too close to the floor, I can't see. Pick my wall. Get the right orientation of the cursor. Hold down Shift and left click. Now that one is this one, is it? Yeah. So get the right orientation. Right. Hold down the Shift key and left click to delete. And there it is. That is one bunker with no windows and no doors. So let's put a door in. Actually, before I come to the door, there's something I need to cover first. Down here you'll see the letter E and a red grid, which means stop editing. So if you press the letter E, your grid disappears and your building becomes an entity, just like any other entity in your scene. Like a tree or a rock or a flower. You can left click, you can extract, you can move it around, you can left click and move it with the widget tool, anything you like. Except this time, if you click, you have a new command called edit. Now if you select edit, you will restore your grid and allow you to continue editing your EBE to suit your requirements. Now the reason this is important, and also the reason why I've started building this out here, is that at any point in the future I could take my EBE and bring it into my game world. So I can build it out here away from the distractions of the scene, then bring it where I want it, and then fine tune it or tweak it. Also, it's important to note that you don't have to build all this thing in one go. You can come back at any time and resume editing. So now we're going to put a door on here. Now, one way to do that would be to simply edit mode and take out the internal and the external walls. You have a big gaping hole in the side of it, and technically that would be a door, but it would be nicer to have a nice door frame. And it just so happens that in your entities tab, if you add a new entity and navigate to fixtures and doors, there's a nice selection of door frames here with no doors inside them. There are door inners which can go in later, but that's for a later day. So you could select any of these frames, and we'll select this one for now because it looks pretty cool. Research lab door frame. Double click, and you can see this in your scene now. So we'll just pop it there, pop it down for now, and then find ourselves a nice place to put it. I want my door extract. Press R to rotate, and then press B to lock it to the grid. That's a bit big. That's the big grid. You want the smaller grid, so it moves in increments and smaller increments. Just kind of move it kind of where you want it to go. I think I'll put it here. Now, yeah. Actually, now I'll have it a bit further across. But I want to keep it gridded, so extract it and then position it roughly where you want it. Like that. Now, if we go back into edit to bring our grid back up, there's two new things I want to show you. The first one, under builder menu, is cube, and the second one is block. Now, cube is a 1x1 tile piece which paints in whatever texture you currently have selected. You could paint your entire building with this. It would take a while, but you could do it. And similarly, if you hold down shift and left click, you remove it from the scene. When you want to go up a level, let's say you wanted to have this shape, you can hit page up, and instead of going up by a whole unit, it goes up by one block because you have the little cube selected. Now down here is block. Block is 2x2, so you can do exactly the same as cube, just a little bit bigger, a little bit faster. And page up takes you one block up, which in this case is 2x2. You can combine the two like this, and when you go page up again, you just got one level, so you can create a lot of interesting shapes using just cube and block. You've seen column on the corners. Row is simply a long piece of tile. You can use this to create long strips, or more importantly, if you hold down shift, to remove long strips. Now, because I've done all this in the same texture, I can get rid of it. I'll use the block because it'll be a touch quicker. There we go. And because I've not actually used this cobblestone texture, I can just madly paint around, and I won't delete anything I don't want to delete. So I'll just get rid of all this. It's just for demonstration purposes only. Oh no, I might use that a little bit later. Anyway, if we find that texture we used, which is this one, we can hold down shift, put our block inside the frame, and then cut out the door hole. So it doesn't matter what shape our door was, like the big circular door, its frame will be thick enough to be removed using the cube in the narrow places and the block in the not narrow places. Now you'll notice I've just cut through the outside layer because, as I've mentioned before, you're going to cut through the texture you've got highlighted. So you take your internal texture and you can do just, that's not my internal texture, you can do just the same thing. There it is. Quite hard to see actually. Let me get in there for a bit more. I'll go on the other side actually, because I can still see the door frame there. I'll adjust. I'll bring that out again in a minute. We'll do it now. Press E, click the door frame, and just drag it inside a little bit like that. We want to get it good on both sides. There we go. So, edit. So now I can see where I'm cutting. You go in and start taking chunks out. It doesn't matter if you accidentally cut a hole in the wrong place, you just paint it back in. It's no big deal. I'll forgive you. Unlike all good things, you could quite simply just throw down some bricks, cut out a wall and call it done. But if you take the time, really take the time, you can get some very nice results. Now I'm not fond of this jarring effect here, so I'm going to press E to exit the edit mode. Grab the door and pull it slightly upwards. So I want the frame, the lower edge of the frame, to show here. So the frame, because I've moved it up, I need to take a few more bricks out. I'll start with the inside since I've already got that selected. Well, I don't need to. I cut off more off the inside than I did on the outside. Okay. So we select block. We come up to the level of the door, and we can. Actually, that's a bit close. I'm going to switch to the cube for this one, so we can just cut the bits out we don't need. Like so. Yeah. And press E to exit edit mode. Now I think there's a slight protrusion there, which I'm not keen on. So I'll take this and just ever so slightly bring it out a bit more. Well, can you see the door hole we've made there? There we go. So you just got to tweak it until it's nice. We have a nice lintel at the bottom, a good frame, a brick hovering in midair. Let's deal with that now. So we edit, we bring it down to the level. I've just hit it again, sorry. And I've placed a cube down there. So okay, edit. We bring it down to the level of that one now. And then delete it. Down and delete it. Now, did I catch the one? No, it's there. So if we come outside, I must have accidentally placed that down while I was demonstrating. This. Yeah. So I press E again. Now I've eaten all the little niggles, and I will get my player start marker, just pop him down here and test game. And we have a rather nice door with a very hole in the wall hole which takes us inside. There's no leaks, there's no lights, there's no holes, there's no bad things, just a doorway out again. So I'd say that's a nice little bunker. It does everything I wanted it to. So if we exit test game, and we will save. under a new iteration, just in case something unexpected happens. There we go, saved level. Now, there is an issue here, which is kind of why it's saved, that if you then try to grab this and then move it, you leave the door behind. Because we simply placed that door there and then edited around the hole that it made. But ideally we'd want that door to be attached to our EBE, and there is a way to do that. So load it back in, so the position is correct. Like so. And then if we come down to our preview, select the door, extract, and then hold down the L key, you'll notice the EBE goes red. Now when you left click and place the door is highlighted with the EBE. And if you select the EBE and move it now, you will take the door with you. And so in that respect, we can bind entities to the EBE to form a nice complete structure. And this doesn't just have to be doors, it could be window frames, it could be beds, benches, scenery inside the bunker, computer terminals, whatever's in there can be bound and moved as one. Another little keyboard help is if you press the tab key, you will take the roof off the EBE, so you can place things inside. For example, if I wanted a tree inside, I could place a tree inside. It's taking the top off the tree, but you can at least see where it would be on the floor. And if you press tab again, you've got a tree growing out of your bunker. We don't want a tree growing out of a bunker, but we might want, let's say, what would we have? We'd have a desk. So in fixtures, doors, we've had doors, a roof. No, we don't want a roof, we want a switch. A window. Maybe a switch. I'd like a table or a box. Yes, a box. So let's get a nice big box. Metal case large. That's quite military. You'd see that in a bunker. So, okay. Now, you can place it down. And then if we try to move this, we just move it around like that. So, we just delete that and get him back again. Now, if we say we want him in this corner, so we find a nice place for him, and then hold down the L key, it all goes red. A left click, we'll place it down. So when we move the bunker around, oops, I grabbed the box. When we move the bunker around, the entire thing comes with us. The tab can put it back, and it will be there. So that's a really good way of building up your bunker before you take it into your level. And also to see what's in there. Speaking of which, let's find a place for it before we do any more to this. So we'll take him and we'll bring him all the way over here, and we'll put him here. I want this to be half buried in the mountain. Half buried in the mountain. Now, at the moment it's doing a very good job of being half buried, but that's not what I had in mind. So we will let's rotate it out a bit. Now you'll see this, you'll think, whoa, what's it doing? It's actually rotating around its little spiky ball thing, because that's where its pivot point is. So you have to bear that in mind when you're placing it, that it will rotate around that spiky ball thing. So we bring it over here a bit. I'll go to top down to get a better view of what's going on. Rotate some more. And position, let's say, oh, no, it's a tree, I don't want to position that. There. Now this will be kind of an overgrown bunker, I think. So let's work on building this into the terrain. So I will drop it down. I'm selecting trees here, you have to be very careful. You know you select it when it goes red. We'll bring it down so its door is on floor level. That's still not quite there. I'll bring it down a bit more. Now I can already see the mountain invading. Now if you wanted a ruined bunker, that would already be pretty cool, because you go in there and it's like caved in and covered with dirt and stones and the crate half buried. I'm going to get rid of that because I'm going to do that later. Let's move that door up slightly. Oh, another thing to mention, you can move the door up and down or anything you attach to it and it will still be part of the EBE. You're not stuck to how it was when you placed it. You can tweak. I need to level this mountain a bit because I want more of a flat ground. So if I select a level brush, like so, I may have to get rid of my nice tree. It's in the way now. E, highlight the thing, bring it down to ground level. Oh, it's a little far away now. Let's bring it back to reality. I'll take this a bit further across. I will get rid of that tree for now. I can always put him back later if I want him. So in here we've got that. So if I take the stored level mode, because I was previously working on the level of the floor it is now, I can just get rid of all the things intruding into the corners and we'll smooth that out so it's not so rough. So we get our smooth brush and we'll start working on smoothing that out a bit. Now this is going to make those things reappear again in the corners, but because I've got that stored level, I can always tweak it back again, and then we might put some more geometry here to stop the players from getting up, or increase the height of the mountain further behind. So it's creeping up again there, so we'll just knock it down a bit more, just a bit there, because I don't want anything encroaching into my bunker. This is a nice bunker, it's not derelict, so we've got a bit of space behind it, yeah, that's nice, okay. Alright, I like that. We will get play start marker because I want to see it in game, to see what it looks like from a player's perspective, just to make sure it's getting right. The player would approach from the path, so we'll save that because I like how it's turned out. I'm going to iterate again in case I later decide I don't want it there and I don't want to have to try and rebuild my mountain. So it's just easy to save under a new iteration. We don't need to conserve disk space in this day and age. Loading terrain, and test game. Launching test level, preparing sky, initializing physics. There we go. Now, that's nice. I'm seeing how this is working. So the player starts up here and comes down to, oh look at this, a building in the distance, and a campsite over there. Oh, let's explore this first, shall we? So we race over here. Oh, past the tree. This is looking a bit barren and spartan. I think we need to do something here. There were some rocks or some shrubs or something. I want to completely block this off so the player can't get behind the building. I want this building to be part of the mountain, and we'll cover that in a moment. I want the player to be able to go into the building and find something or do something or interact with something or somebody. So I'm thinking maybe as a plot for this, you have to come here, be given a quest, to find something which is going to be in the cave. So the player goes to the cave, finds the something, and brings it back here. There might be a monster in the cave to defeat, or some wildlife in the forest as a kind of a passive threat. Yeah, that should cover the basics of it. So that's what we'll do. I will now build this further into the terrain to make it look like it's supposed to be here and has not just been had a mountain squashed and it dumped in. So escape back to the editor, come back to my nice view, and we don't need to save again, we've just saved, but it's a good habit to get into, so save. And let's have a look how we can make this right. Now, I think rocks is the way to go. Rocks was very well over there. I'm not so enamoured with this yellow rock here now. It's looking a bit out of place, surrounded by all the grey. So we may go back and change this later. It was nice at first. I'm not so keen anymore. But we're not going back yet, we're just going forward. I'm going to get the rocks that we used for the roof into the place, which were scenery items. Rocks, let's get the big one. Start with the big rock there. So we'll, what's a big rock? We'll go to the top down view, that'll be easier. Place it here and use the widget tool to get it further into. I don't remember this rock being that big. It was. It's funny, isn't it? Perception can shift. Okay, there's a nice big rock. It cuts off most of it. I'm gonna tweak that a little bit, make sure it's intervening, which it is. So we just shove it up, shove him outside a little bit more. Not what I'm trying to do. What was happening there was the rock was trying to come to my cursor using the directional tabs. You left click and hold and it will come to your cursor, allowing you to drag the rock to wherever your cursor is, but it must first get to your cursor from where it is. And so because I was so close to it, I was trying to macro and it was trying to macro back at me. So you have to be careful for that. These little things that you pick up. So I'll move him out a bit. It's because he's so big as well. His center. It's harder to manipulate larger objects like this on a small scale. If it was a much smaller rock, it'd be a lot easier because it has less sorry, the word's gone. It has less mass, so it's easy to manipulate. And we'll put another big rock on this side, and then smaller rocks to cover the gaps, and then vegetation to go into the cracks. So we shall do this now. I think 4 was a big rock. Yeah, it was. So put him there. Translocate him in a bit, sink him down so it blends more into the terrain. Even out his edges. Make sure he's all inside. Good. Now I don't like that, but you won't see that, so it might not matter so much. But I also don't like that really sharp edge there. I noticed that before, so we'll just take the smooth brush and small it down a bit and just blend the lower terrain into it. So I don't want to move the upper terrain too much because that's the base of the EBE. I don't want to mess with that. So I just maneuver it like this just to smooth it out a little bit more. This is not the time or the place to have an edge in your terrain. There we go. So press E key to get back to the manipulation tool. I think if I take him, I can drag him down a little bit, take his profile down a bit, and start using little rocks here. So rock 8, well, that's nice, we'll use him. I'll stuff him in there. Maybe rotate him so his flat edge is flush to the building. Bit much. Just bring him around a bit. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. There we go. Make sure he's not inside. Yep, that's good. And then another small rock here, because I tried to avoid right angles. Oh, this is good. Bring it a bit further in, like that. So you're just trying to break up the lines, really. I mean, this is kind of a mountain bunker. It wouldn't be straight and even. Inside it would be, because it's military and cold and efficient, but outside you want it nice and organic and tumble, because rocks fall down and they don't get moved. Oh, that's a big old rock. It's perhaps too big now. We'll put him there in case we need him later. And more than that, we'll forget about him and he'll stay there forever. Rock 7. Yeah, like that. We'll put him there. Switch to top down so I can have a better see what's going on. I'll rotate him so his back's to the wall, and then we'll find ourselves rock 3. No, that's too big. Rock 2. Yeah, we'll put rock 2 here, like that. And I want something else here. I am going to keep him. Rock 6 I think was nice and small. Yeah, and it's got a bit of a split in it as well. So I put him there, and then just drop it down and sink those rocks into the floor a bit. Because even though that is the same as that, they don't look the same because they're at different rotations, different levels. And it's not obvious if you don't know they're the same rock. Maybe adjust the rotation more so it's even further distinguished, and just like a little pebble sticking out here. So good. Now the top's looking a bit flat, so I'm going to put rocks up there as well. Now we don't need to go behind the bunker because the player won't be going behind the bunker. I want it looking integrated from the front and the sides, but not necessarily from angles where no one should be seeing. So let's say rock 10 looks big, so we'll put him on the roof, and maybe increase his scale like so, and bring him to the front. Oh, I've grabbed the wrong axes there. I tried to grab the green one and I ended up grabbing the red one, so yeah, be careful for that. Act in haste, repent in leisure, as they say. So we'll move him over there, integrate him into that rock. I'll have to put something here to fill that gap, but that should be okay. What does it look like from the floor? That's where the player will be. A bit cutting in. I don't want it to cut in, and I don't want it to cut through. Yeah. So let's something here, something there. Rock 3. Oh, that's another bigger. I'll put him on the roof. He's big enough to go on the roof. He's very big to go on the roof, actually. He'll do quite a lot. I'll rotate him so he's wider facing this is the player. I'll move him back a bit so he's not overhanging the roof. And move him up a touch so he's not cutting into the roof. This ledge is bothering me, actually. I think I need another bit more of this texture here to hide this. So before I undertake an undertaking like that, I'm going to do a quick save, because I like how the rocks have turned out, and I don't want to accidentally carve a hole in my building and, you know, go from there. Edit, and you'll bring up the editing grid as exactly as we did outside. If I take the cube and the outside wall texture and bring my editing floor to the top like this. Oh, another tooltip here: page up and page down control the floor and your camera with it, but the mouse wheel just controls the floor. Sometimes it's easier to work if your camera isn't moving. You can just draw on as you need to, but if you want to move with your camera, you can use the page up keys. So you get it a bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. Move to there, and we'll draw on this texture. Now just see what it looks like. It is the bottom of that texture, so it's kind of like a darker edge, but at least it's better than the half a metal than what we had before. So I'll carry on with that. I can just overdo that. There we go. Perhaps this is a good time to point out the use of the row tool. This is the same as a wall, where it's locked to the larger of the grids, but you can rotate it and just do that. It's much easier than what I was doing. Much easier than what I was trying to do. So you can just edge it all and then go to your small cube to do the absolute edges. We're not going to do the back. The player's not going to see the back. Another thing I want to point out as well, if you placed a floor down, I mentioned previously that if you had a different texture selected, you can't hold down shift and delete it because it's a different texture. But what you can do is you can overwrite with the new texture and then hold down shift to delete it. So there is a way to do it quickly without trying to find the old texture. You just have to overwrite it and then delete it, because you now have the right texture selected. So when you make a little mistake like I've made, where you've accidentally drawn over half of it, you can paint it as the new texture, or you can paint it all as the old texture, delete it, and then go back over it. There's little tricks like that. So we're going to press E to exit the edit mode, and then come out into player's view, and you can no longer see the horrible edge. It's a much nicer finish to the building. I'm going to put a rock here so you won't see that either. So on with the rocks. On with the rocks. And our circular rock, we'll use rock 8 and rotate him so he will be facing the player like so, and then position it in the correct position, obviously. And just get him so he's not cutting through the bunker, he's just being a rock formation, like a good little rock. There's too far in there, so just drag him out again. Maybe even rotate him so he swings outwards. And then pull him back some more. Bit more than that. Yeah, a tiny touch more. A little teeniest of tiny touches more. And he's gone. And we filled in most of that hole. I think just vegetation would do the rest. I'm still working on the roof. Okay, so if I take this again, extract, hold down shift and click, so I've got a duplicate, and just rotate him to a different orientation. It looks like a different rock, but it is on the right level, just to fill in that hole. So yeah, I want something here, and maybe something here. So something small now. Rock 6 is quite small. So I'll place it down, rotate it, and then position it further up. I don't want levitating rocks, so I have to place it into contact with the other rocks so it's got something to hold on to. Also to make sure that it's not intruding inside the bunker. I think one more up here. Maybe, yeah. Maybe take a clone of this guy, bring him around here, and then bring him up like that. Just have him sort of looming in the background, give a bit of depth, so it's not just rocks piled up against nothing. There we go. Lovely. Now you could spend a long time doing this, more time perhaps than I've given it so far, because I can see a flat bit here. There's more I'd like to do, but the idea is got. You know, it's the EBE is not just some rectangular squat structure stuck out in the middle of nowhere, not blending in at all. You can use other static entities to sort of blend it into the terrain, make it seem like it's supposed to be there. I've used rocks in this case because there's rocks. This is a rocky valley. It's going to be built into the rocks, and these rocks would have been displaced during its construction and fallen on top of it as time's gone on, and now it's partially buried. But it's a strong structure, so it's not damaged by it. So there's that. Now there's a few more things I want to go over before I end this particular section, and I'll have to leave the valley to do it because I'm going to show you with a new site. So we go back to our little testing area and go to the builder menu and select add new site. You then place this down and it will create a brand new construction grid for a new EBE. Now this one is completely separate from the old one. No matter what you do to this one, it won't affect that one. What you do to that one won't affect this one. On that subject, if you created, let's say, a small path like this using the EBE system, press E, extract it, and then place several in your scene like so, and then at some point edited one of them with maybe a thought, oh I know, we'll put a little metal box on, and then pressed E, the change would automatically cascade to all the instances of that particular EBE that you copied. There are instances of one another. They're not separate entities in themselves. So you must be careful that if you want to do something new, you should always use a new site. That's something to keep in mind. Also, what I wanted to show was, even though it's called the Easy Building Editor, it doesn't have to be used to create buildings. As I practically did in the last demonstration, you could create a long sequence of tiles, like the paving tiles, and put a bit of this brown stuff next to it, like a sort of mud, and then you press E, you've got quite a serviceable little road as long as your ground is reasonably flat. If you extract, you could lock this to GameGuru's grid system, and holding down Shift to place several instances, it will link together really quite seamlessly. And so you could have a path and then use the natural unevenness of the terrain to kind of dig into the sides, the dirt sides, but leaving the path mostly whole. So you could create a sort of a nice path using EBEs. Now what's happened there is, when you try to raise and lower the terrain, entities will try and accommodate that increase, which can be easily got around by deleting these, taking an extract of that one and then placing them down again. They will keep to the original level and not try to conform to the terrain. So there's like a path here which is like partially obscured by the floor. So this is another application of EBEs. This is a very quick example. I've taken no time here to blend the terrain to the side of the road, add foliage, detritus, bits of rocks, broken things, to blend it in. But this is a very good way of creating a nice road in GameGuru without too much effort involved. And if you ever wanted to change the road texture, you could go into one of them, choose, let's say, this, or even at some point upload your own textures, and then when you exit, the entire road changes to match that change. That's the beauty of these being instances of one another, is you can create massive sweeping changes for minimal effort involved. And this type of road isn't practical in this setting, which is why I've shown it here and not in there, but I felt this was an important part of the EBE which should be addressed, because it's not all about buildings. It can be used for things other than that which it was invented for.